Good morning. Good morning. We'll wait a couple of minutes till everyone joins, and then we'll start. And one more minute. Okay, I'm going to start until 11:04:05. I'll start sharing my screen, and then we'll get started for today's lesson. Okay, it's 11:05, so I'm first going to start. I don't know if the recording has started. But Najee still there to start the recording?
I, it is recording already.
Oh, it's recording? Okay, good, cool. I didn't see the recording on button. Okay, great. Okay, so we talked about where we left off last week about registering your MCP server on mcp.so. And as you can see here on my left side, that's the last thing we were doing. We were putting that weather app available for other individuals to use. And the whole point of doing something like this, remember, is you want other people, you want to create one gateway so people can connect to. And once you host and load an MCP server for other people to connect to, you sort of remove everyone trying to create their own API connections, everyone trying to create their own codes. You already have a training, you already have this connector that connects to any LLM that they can simply just use, and it can handle the workload. So again, that's the whole point of this. And during the office hours during the week, I was asked, hey, where can I find more MCP servers? I want to look things up. So still going to mcp.so is one of them, and click home, and you can see all different types of other MCP servers. So if someone wants to find a Jira MCP, you can type in Jira, and there's a bunch of other Jira MCP servers that people have created that you can connect to your Jira, right? Or if you just wanted to have something that connects to or if you want something to connect to Google Maps. Um, So there is other agents that's here about connecting to Google Maps and looking at it. And again, when you look at these areas, just remember if it's a paid service, for example, Google Maps, you need a Google Maps API key that's sort of paid. For example, they'll set everything up, but you need to obtain an API key from Google, right? And then you need to add it to your tools. So it's not only so it's not so don't think it's like it's a workaround or a backway alley of being able to connect to services that are paid for. No, like for you to connect to them again, you need that authentication usually through API keys and connecting to that way. So again, just looping back from this week, if you have any questions of which MCP servers to use or you want to create your own, you can download these from here and use them, connect them to your cloud server if you don't have to have an API key or create an API key from there. Okay, cool. So again, please feel free to search, and we created one that was sort of public. But what happens if you need something a little bit more private? You need something that is secure. So what do you do? What we published before was the Ngram was something that's public, but anyone can access that. Let's say you need something more set up for your business, and your business will set up an MCP server, find a really cloud authentic provider, um, and you need to be something that's secure. So one of the people that are doing this today that are out there is Zuplo. Zuplo is one of these providers that are all about API management. So even before MCP was big, Zuplo was looking at their API productivity, security, authentication, looking at latency, security, etc., all that other way. So when MCPs came on top, they simply just said, okay, well, we can now integrate everything that we've done for these APIs in terms of security and add them to Ziplo. So I'll just put this in the chat again. This is part of the steps that we were working through together. So I'm going to grab that website to put it in here. So why do you want to put your MCP server in Ziplo? So again, I'm not going to sell this too much, but when you look for providers that you want to host, especially in production, you need API gateway protections, you need built-in authentications, you need threat mitigation, secure secrets. Um, they're looking at deep observability, analytics, benefits, etc., right? So it pretty much comes pre-built out for you. So again, Ziplo plus an MCP server is production-ready gateways. So you don't have to worry about building lots of things. And the cool thing about it, you can create custom domains. We couldn't do that with the other way as well, but it depends on the plan or the business plan that you're looking at. So how do we create a file on Ziplo? So again, go to Ziplo. I just posted it on the site. Let's see if it will, because I'm already signed in, it won't look exactly like what you have on yours, right? If you haven't created a login yet, please create the login now. And we'll walk through together how to host an MCP server on Drupal itself. So for those who are starting, click Start for free. It'll tell you to sign up, but since I'm already signed in, it will bring me to my main page. So I'll give you guys a couple minutes to get to the website and then get to the main page of projects. All right, once everyone's on this page, can I get a thumbs up so then I can then continue the next steps?
The new screen looks a little different than what you have.
You said you go and click sign in.
Yeah, yeah. I'm in the
Yeah,
sign
sign up
in.
and
Uh, it says on the top menu, I see project code, project shows gateway, developer portal, welcome to gateway. It has a lot of other things, not like yours.
let's see, is it something like this?
Yes.
Okay, that's fine. All you have to do is click on this project, we'll click new project, but if on your page, if you run into something like this, just click start building.
Okay. Thank you.
So there was there was a project which was already existing over there. I'm assuming this as the part of the last week we did that. Is that correct? And then you just do a start building after clicking on it.
And so if you have a project in there and it's your first time logging in and you haven't done anything with Zipflow before, then they probably pre-assigned like a fake project for you. So we're just gonna go in and edit that project anyways itself right now.
Okay, then do I need to do build on that?
Yeah, we'll walk through those steps right now. We're just making sure everyone just gets signed in and ready to start the project. Then you'll be able to understand a little bit more what's going on with the project.
Sounds good. Thanks.
Okay, anyone need 1 or 2 minutes? If you need 1 more minute more, please put it in the chat. If not, I will continue.
I didn't see get started on the main page after signing up. I see quick start. When I quick start, it shows the setup, setting up the host and everything.
Yeah, so you're starting a new project right now. So did you get to this page? It look like this one for yourself?
Yes.
Yeah, so then you click start building.
Uh,
So
oh,
we'll get to there yet, but don't click anything yet. That's what we're doing right now.
okay.
Okay, cool. So I'm going to start. So when you click on new project, you get to you can choose a name for your project if you don't have one. You can call it weather app. You can call it whatever. It's usually a name that they choose for you. Click start a project if you need to, and then you just click create project if you get to that page. And then you click create project. So just let me know if you guys are able to see that. But if you on this page and you didn't get to that page as well, you can always click to start building because that means you already have a project created. And once you click project, if you don't have a new project, you usually see something like this.
Yeah, this is what we are seeing.
Okay, great.
So by the way, if we already have a project, we can just do start project and then that is fine, right? The existing project is fine. You don't have to create a new one.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay, so here we're simply just going to add in a new. So you just quickly click on the plus button. And here you want to call this one your weather. I'll put the name in here. I think I'll type it out. So one weather open API dot OAS. And it should be a .json file. So when you create the new one, you should be labeling like that. We will create another one, weather
So are we okay?
AI open API. I'll put mine v2 because I already have something in there.
It will be os.json, right?
Yes. So it needs to say o.oas.json. So don't mind me, don't mind the v2. I'm doing that because I already have a file in here like that. But it should still be the one that I put in your name. So once you're here, you're back to the API designer. And again, you don't have to decide and download everything from that. So what you simply do is click import OpenAPI. And we're going to download and use the exact same OpenAPI.json that we copied from last week. once we have that file imported in here, you can see all the tools that we're going to be calling, and we're going to click complete import. And you just click that. Once you have that imported, you should see tools, all the tools on this left side of being able to build.
Can you show again? I missed that. How did you get here?
Well, you have to click on import open API. If you can see on the screen, on the right screen of the presentation, you click on import open API button, and then you're going to upload the .json file that we downloaded last week for the weather
Yeah,
API.
yeah. Yes.
We do the
So-
complete import of all the APIs now, right?
Yes, and then you click the button complete import.
Can you also share the last week link if it's possible? Where we downloaded
Sorry, which one?
from where we need to download those files. Yeah.
If you were here last week, you should have been this JSON file should have been downloaded from the Weather Network. Do you still have a copy of that from last week?
Hey, Luz, I
Yeah.
didn't join last
Maybe
week.
missing in another. Yeah.
Here, let me see if let's put it in the chat so you can easily just copy and download that one.
Thank you.
I'll just wait for a couple of minutes so everyone gets the opportunity to load and understand these tools. So going back to last week, for those who weren't able to join, OpenAPI JSON file is a way to connect to APIs, and under the APIs, there are specific tools and tools calls that usually work on APIs. So if we were doing a direct API query, we would use this OpenAPI to say, okay, I need to get all the alerts from this connector, right? So this alert here /alerts is a predefined API call already. And then all these different tools that we see here, I think it's over 50 different types of operations, are already predefined ways how to access the API. So when we do the MCP servers, we're not telling the LLM to create their own API calls. We're telling them, hey, these are all the tools you're able to use. Which one is best to answer the question? So again, this is where the MCPs and APIs sort of merge together.
So we need to download, upload this both OpenAI.json and whether OpenAI.json. That's correct.
No, just one. Just the first one I sent. I think other individuals are putting them in, just the ones that they have.
Okay.
We will 2 more minutes.
Hey, Luis, I don't see my project created in the left hand under config like you see it.
Which one do you mean?
Like you have this here, right? Though I created a project under config, I don't see that actually.
No, you need to do enter. That is what I realized. You
Okay. Oh,
you press it when you just change the name will not hurt. You need to do enter, then it will create the file.
okay. Let's see. I created a gateway. It says whether OpenAI gateway, and then I say start project.
Yeah, so you start a project, and then when you enter the project, you should have this stuff on the left side.
Yeah, in the left hand side, I see policies and routes, but I don't see whether.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
Satya, click on the plus and
add.
then enter the file. Even though you copy the file, it will not. You need to do enter.
I see. Okay. Oh.
If you don't do enter, it will delete the file.
I see. Actually, okay. I created a project. Okay, I need to create enter as well. Okay, got it. Okay.
Luis, do you need to save it?
Okay, I see now.
Yeah, so this needs to be saved as well, but this will I believe this is auto saved, but we'll save this at the bottom once we finish off this section. Just want to explain a little bit more. We'll click save, and then we'll go to the next one we have to edit.
So, Luis, when I imported it, it is not showing separate file for me, the Weather Open API. Instead, it's showing just routes.os.json.
Yeah,
showing.
Yeah,
this,
that's one.
Yeah,
Excellent.
this
it's
is what I'm saying, right?
saying,
You need to do
yeah,
enter.
You
After
have
the
to
plus,
create an OpenAI spec,
Yeah.
and then you create a new one, and then you have to rename it to the Weather OpenAI.
ah,
So yeah, this is not the project name. This is OpenAPI. So under our project, we are creating a spec.
Yes.
I didn't understand where I have to enter. Sorry.
So
I-
when you go to your project, you click OpenAI spec, you click,
Oh,
and then you need to name it to the weather-openapi.ois.json file.
got it. So I need
And
to
then
create.
so once you get there, you should create this file on your left side, and then you click import OpenAI, and this is where you upload your JSON file.
Mine is just under config. The weather OpenAI OS.
Yes, that's exactly where it needs to be.
But
So
I don't see the OpenAI spec anywhere over here, though.
did you click the plus button?
I thought I did. So basically, how it looks like is like there is a config directory, and underneath there is the weather OpenAI.os.json. But it's under config directory. But what you're saying is you have to do a plus and then do that, and then
The thing is, when you start this, there is no Weather Open API, right? If you've already gone in, added a new spec, and have this already created, then you're done. We're just pausing right now for individuals to get to that step, and then we'll go to what's next.
40 minutes முடிச்சிருவேன் அப்படின்னாரு.
அப்படியா? சரி, எவ்வளோ?
160 ரூபா சொன்னாரு. வீட்டுக்குள்ள வெளியில
can you just expand a little bit towards the right, Louis? This one to just see how it actually looks like. I want to see the tree.
Sorry, which one?
The left-hand side, can you just expand a little bit so that completely how it shows up?
Yeah. It should be this one. I just created V2 to show you how to do the import. So I walked you through the guys with everyone how to do that import. But it should say this is the full name. I put it in the chat as well. How it should be named.
Got it. Okay. But okay, so there is an open API as a tab on the right side. Okay, got it. Okay.
All right, so when you click import OpenAI, like I said, you're gonna get lots of tools. And then everything that we just imported, that JSON file, we're able to see here. And all the parameters are happening in the JSON file. And the last tab, OpenAPI, if you have different optimal views. So now that we know that we have our route designer and our weather OpenAPI coming in, you can click add and create a new MCP server directly using this. But unfortunately, Ziplow has changed a lot. So example, in this tutorial I have on the right side, you simply just edit your routes.aos.json. They have now changed it. We have to edit the routes.aos.json next, and we have to put our own configuration for this. So once we already have our file of the weather, what we need is that we need our routing for our MCP server to work. So what we need to do is in the routes.json file, you're going to be copying this from the chat and putting that in right under routes and replacing what you see in there. This is why it's going to be very important that you named it exactly like that, because your configuration of where it's going to be pulling information from will need to be done from this area. So now everyone should click on the routes.aos.json. You'll see this, click on the routes.aos.json and copy and paste this in there.
Luis, I have different JSON in the routes.json. We didn't copy anything, right?
So it already comes pre-configured. So we're replacing what's in there that's pre-configured with the ones I put in the chat. that you'll be copying and pasting over.
Oh, okay.
So let's give it a 1 minute.
Path, okay, to do path, okay, MCP.
And again, the most important part I want to say is if you name this anything else, then the one I put here, it won't work unless it's exactly the same name that you have on and as your spec. Because what the router is going to do is route to your MCP, to your MCP API.
So by the way, if we go to the routes OS.json, right, there is a bigger JSON, it looks like actually.
Yeah, but that's the one we're going to be removing, and we're replacing it with this one that that I just pasted to you guys.
Oh, okay, got it. So it's completely replaced with the MCP part. Okay.
Yeah.
Luis, I think when we copy or when we created a new weather API, it is not being saved, right? Can we click save?
Yes,
No,
yes. Save.
no.
You can click save. The thing is, when you click slave, it's supposed to be for deployment, but because you haven't deployed anything yet with our API, it's not going to change much. But what's more important part is after you import this in and you click on it, you have to click save on this one because then it's going to look for our file and it's going to save it and it's going to deploy it. So how these MCP servers work is it gets deployed. So for example, if I look at the build file, it actually builds and deploys out using packages as well. It creates a sort of Docker image of all the files it needs. It creates your security for you guys, downloads all the different the things that you need as well, and then deploys it on Node.js. So this is how these MCP servers sort of get bundled and sent out. They get bundled up and deployed when finished. So if you did it properly and the routes.asjson, copied it over and you click save, you should see here the MCP server tools, and you should see you're able to click select tools. And because there's going to be tons of them, we're clicking only the one that we did before, the alerts active area. So you can unclick all of them and then click that one as well, and then click update tools. And that should show you only the one. If you have that, you just click save, and then that should update your JSON file. So I'll pause there. I know I went through a lot of steps, so I'm waiting for individuals to try that, get to that exact same step, and then we can continue.
How did you click the tools button?
And you should have that select tools.
Okay. Oh. So Luis, essentially your routes.json has only the alerts active area. That's the reason it is showing up only that particular route.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. For this one, we're only going to do that one.
Yeah.
Luis, the build failed, but I was able to see this MCP server, the weather MCP server.
Yes. So it probably failed because it couldn't find your spec. So just go back here and ensure that you have it word per word, how you named it on your spec.
That was correct, actually.
Once you have that set up and you see the MC server, select tools, select active area, and then save again and see if that will fix your build.
Okay.
So if I go to the route designer, right, I just see add route and then import open API. So I don't see what it is. I mean, maybe I'm missing the step, right? No, on the right. So basically, when I click on the routes, I did the build and all this. It looks like it did the build, right? And then if I click on the routes os.json, and when I'm on the route designer tab, Maybe I missed this step, but I see add route and then import API in Open API. There are the two buttons there, but I don't see the ones which you are seeing actually.
So I think you're missing the step that you have to click on the routes.os JSON
Okay.
and copy in what I put in the chat in there.
Yeah, so I did that actually, and then I have /config and then whether opens API OS for JSON path over there. I see that. The complete thing was actually replaced by /MCP thing, right? Is that what you're talking about? Yeah, I see that. And then when I saved that, it actually did the build, and then it says build succeeded, and then the building developer portal, and then the developer portal deployed successfully too is what it says.
Okay, so you then if that means that I properly found this, so it's good. So you click on Routes Designer, you don't see this after you deployed it and it was all good.
Yes, I don't see that. That's the problem.
I think, did you do select tools?
How do I do the select tools here? No, I don't even see the select tools is what I'm saying.
Okay, does anyone else have the same issue? I'm curious if anyone has that same issue.
No, it built, and then when I go to the route designer, I could able to see the select tools, whether MCP server is up and running.
Yeah.
Okay, we might have to well, if you still have access to it and it still works in select tools, you have to find this way of getting that in. So again, just confirm again that you just copy and paste this file over in here again, and then click save when done. And then you go route designer, it should automatically pre-populate the weather MCP server, except it will show everyone, right?
And then
Then you select tools.
So this has nothing to do with the last week's steps, right? Whatever
No,
is happening. So it's
brand
just
new.
independent.
Yeah, this is
Okay.
very independent. This has nothing to do with any of the last files.
Yeah, then why is it not showing? That's weird. Okay, let me try again.
Yeah, it works for me. The server deployed successfully.
Okay, great.
I see failed to build developer portal. No other information I see.
Oh, so the entire thing has to be replaced, is what you're saying?
Yes.
Right. So not the paths part.
No, just the path. You have to replace everything. So that's why I put the whole JSON file. You copy the whole thing in there and delete anything that's in there, and you copy with that.
Okay. It looks like that's what I had done, but let's see again what happens now. Oh yeah, I see it now. Okay.
Great. All right, so
Sorry.
I think everyone is now aligned. We click in the last step of once you see it, click select tools, and we're doing alerts active area. And you click update tools as you're fast. And then after you click that, you click save. So when you click save, again, we're deploying our MCP server to a customized URL. And the good thing about this is now that we have this sort of built out and have this, you can do a bunch of things. This one has a little bit more. We can do analytics, we can do services, we could do logs to see what's going on with our MCP servers. You can add environment variables. The difference between this one and the last one is this one gives you more of a comprehensive usage of using your APIs under more security and be able to see, hey, how many people are actually using my MCP server? What do those logs look like? What's the latency? And really trying to get more productivity outside of your MCP servers.
So, Luis, we haven't still secured it, right? Or is it already secured?
Yeah, we're not going to be doing security today because this is all public right now.
Okay, sure.
You can make it secure and connect it that way. But right now, if we do it securely, we'd have to set up our own authentication variables and stuff like that right now. But
okay, that's fine.
We're just trying to make something simple, not for everyone to follow through.
Okay.
So just like the other time, we created our MCP server. It's up and running, but we still need to publish it. And although it's up and running, people can access it. We still want that extra way of how can you access the MCP server and use it.
Mm-hmm.
So here comes Smithery. So Smithery is a way for us to also publish our gateway, just like how we saw before during last week, during the MCP.so. This one is typically more just like a general one anyone can do. Another option is Smithery.ai. And Smithery.ai is another gateway where you can look up different MCPs that you can connect to and look from their way. So there's many websites you can use to deploy and create and work from there. So Smithery is another one of those that are more for production. So I would say Zuplo and Smithery are more for productionalized of creating an MCP server, and then to publish it, you would go into Smithery.ai. So what we're going to simply do is you should have something called deploy server once you sign in. I'll put the link in the chat again for those who are get in there. You might have to sign in to create a login. So I'll just wait again 4 or 5 minutes for everyone to simply go to Smithery.ai and create a login if they need to, and then we'll go in and start deploying that server where we have it.
So I see publish server is that the same?
Yeah, publish server, the same thing I have it here. Sometimes it just changes. Like I took screenshots of this probably like a month and a half ago, and you can see it right now. Everything's sort of changing how you use it. So yeah, it's different words and
So many steps, Louis. Actually, leave out the MCP server part in like where you are really using the Zuplo to host your MCP server, but we are using Smithery for publishing it to the so it's a gateway.
yes.
Huh.
The reason why we're doing these two areas is for security. And the whole point of it is being able to then once you publish it. So example, you host your model, but you need to publish it for other people to use it. So again, the whole point of an MCP server is for other individuals to come and use it as well in order to access information. So instead of having 10 people to create one MCP server, each of them creating 10 MCP servers to access a Google spreadsheet, you simply just create one, you host it, and you publish it using Smithery, and you give that to other individuals like, hey, if you want to use a Google Sheets API, please connect to this server. And I already connected to the gateway that your usernames are assigned, and here's your tokens for this, right?
Actually, the surprising part to me is if Ziplo is, like hosting the MCP server, I'm really surprised that they are not providing an publish part, right? Gateway part as well. Surprising.
Yeah, each one tries to do their own thing. I think Ziplo is in the market of trying to create it right now. I think there's something called, I think when I was on the main page, it said something about how they were having a super agent that works. But you'll see the difference once we upload it to Smithery, that it actually has an AI that you'll be able to start working with and understanding more how your MCP server works from there. I think she's right.
One question is, you're saying Ziplo, we created the MCP server and that cannot be hosted. We are using Smithery to publish.
So it is hosted. So if you were to go use it directly from your projects here, you have a gateway up already and using it, right?
Yes.
So now we need to publish this so other individuals can use this gateway in a secure manner.
Okay. So, but someone, if you have this URL, anyone can use it, right? Because we have done it open. We did not do it.
So right now it's open. It's an open portal that we're working on right now. But Smithery.ai is on top, and right now is what are people considering best practice when you host an MCP server, is to then create it, develop it, and create your gateway, and then you have a publisher that sort of secures an extra security layer on top.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So once we on Smithery.ai, we click.
So one quick question. Sorry, Luis, to cut you off. Sorry to interrupt. I mean, so the Smithery.ai, Smithery, which is basically the gateway, could be the entry point for your security?
Yes.
Possibly. Okay.
And this is where you can also play with it on the playground, which you're not able to do with Ziplo. So
Okay.
here you're having your codes, your environment, your log services, but it's not giving you an opportunity to say, hey, let's test our MCP server and let's see what's going on with it. Ziplo does not give you that option.
Oh,
So if
Smithry.
you wanted something to then test it out and you don't want to use Claude Code, you don't want to connect it, you want something quick and fast, you can able to test and how well you're doing your MCP servers and what's able to do. Smithery API is that for it itself.
Okay.
So when you click publish server,
Test the routes in Ziplo, right?
yes.
Okay.
Right, so when you are on Smithery, you click on publish server or deploy server. You get to a page that'll say deploy from GitHub or publish existing server. So if someone says you already have a hosted MCP server, register it by the URL. So we're going to register our project here. You can see it VSF Club. I'm going to put 5 now because I think I've done a lot of these different ones. Click continue. Here it's going to pop you up to this screen. This is where you have to go back and copy the host gateway from Ziplo to Smithery, and then you add that in. And once you add that in, you have to add an end/MCP, or else it won't work. So I'll wait till this part here is, again, you click deploy server, you have to put a server name. So again, our server is VSF Club. I put that in, and then it's going to ask me for the URL. Once I grab the URL from Ziplo that we got, and then we end it with -MCP.
Yeah, it expects you to add the /MCP. That's really interesting.
Sati's a little sassy today with Nageesh.
Yeah. No, actually, the network. The thing is, like, I understand the what is it? Like, this is very similar to a gateway, like OAuth 2 proxy or something like that, right? Like, where I don't need to implement the authorization for every of them. I'm just going to have a gateway which will do everything for me, right? This is probably following a similar model. But the surprising thing is, like, the Ziplo is not giving it, but expecting someone else will. Oh, sure, this is not my domain. Someone else will do it, and that is Smithery. Sure, interesting.
That's the MCP world. Remember, MCP servers just started November of 2024.
Yeah.
So they're not even a year old. So a lot of these companies are just trying to create a strong foundation in one area.
Right.
Meanwhile, other people are like, oh, look, I have a good opportunity to register, become a registering company. So then they become the second part where you add them in. Yes, microservices.
Yeah.
Okay, so once you have that MCP in, you simply click deploy server. It should be pulling in everything that you already built in, and boom, click success. And once you click success, you should start opening our playground. And that's something that, again, Ziplo doesn't have. You have a playground to connect your MCP servers, and we can start asking our tools and using GTP 4.1, saying, what tools do you have available? Okay, so and then properly, so again, if you don't have Claude, if you don't have anything again, and you want to check how well you can query MCP server with an LLM, and that you don't have to pay for, because again, you signed up for Smithery.ai for free, right? You didn't pay for an OpenAI subscription, you didn't pay for any of these LLMs, and here you are using Smithery.ai, be able to pull in your MCP tools and see if it's working properly by asking the tools questions. So I just asked it, what tools do you have available? And then boom, I found out that again, because we only have that one tool, you can click active weather alerts, get real-time information, ask, are there any weather alerts in California, etc. like that. So then you can see that your tool or MCP server is actually working because we're connecting it live from an LLM to your MCP server and actually getting back real responses from there. So again, you don't have to connect it to Cloud Code. You can use programs like Smither.ai to test your MCP servers right away, ensure that it's successful, and be able to use it in a playground and adjust it once needed without going back to your desktop config, editing it, going back, reloading the tools, seeing if it's working. Smither.ai just cuts all of that out and say, just no, give me your hosted gateway. We'll publish it, register it, and see if it can even work with an LLM. So I'll just wait till everyone gets to this page where everyone's able to then test and query their MCP server and have it pop up.
If the server which we created as Ziplo was not public, then you would enter all the keys and all the private stuff, whatever is necessary for.
Yes, you would have to authenticate, add the environment. You would have to add the environment variables to Smithery.ai to connect.
Makes sense.
There's a difference, right, Luis? And like, it's not really public or private. It's authenticated or everything is public, whatever is there in Ziplo, but whether you need keys to access it or not, correct? It's not really
Correct.
private or public. It's a public by default.
Yes.
It's discoverable but not accessible.
You could see people can see the name but won't be able to access
Exactly.
your.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Discoverable but not accessible if it's secure, right?
Okay, someone got an error. We can connect your server to scan for tools. What happens if your server is not working? So this is what happens if you have a failed build. If you go back to Ziplo, and if you see at the bottom of your project, and you don't see a successful check mark on your build, that means you haven't input in the proper codes for that one, Tajika. So
I see it is build is successful and the build gateway, everything is success.
So you got the check mark, build 1 out of 2
Yep.
correct, and then 2
Yep.
out of 2 as well.
Yes. 2, 1 second, 2. Let's check.
The building
Yeah,
developer.
2 of 2 is warnings are there.
Okay, and then you go to route JSON, and then I'm going to double check one thing. I think on this side, there is, on this right side, I think there's a way to test it. Because I'm sharing screen with 2 different things. Let's see. No, it can only be done through an MCP server. Okay, so that's definitely interesting. Did anyone else have that error?
I have the same error, Luis.
And it's successfully copied and built on over to Ziplo.
Yes.
Do you guys see the same screen when you go to the route designer?
Yeah.
Being the same look and feel?
Yes.
Okay, that's interesting. So maybe retry again on the Smithery?
I tried a couple of times.
So just repeating on Smithery, all you're doing is going to your project. If it's successfully built out, copying this URL. And then when you go to Smithery and you import it in, you have to put the /MCP at the end of it in order to be
/MCP / can I see the-
/MCP.
Yeah, I did that.
So yeah, so for example, put this in, you have to put in /MCP on that URL.
Yes.
Can you just try, is there a way she can just ping and then try to see if the server is there without this UI, without going through the Smithery? Just to see if it is actually accessible or not.
Let me just check
I see.
if you can create directly. No, it doesn't let me.
I see the Finder's internal server.
Yeah, at least if you see that, then we know that the method is not allowed, because I think probably it's a get versus the post or something, who knows.
Somehow this HTTP connection is failing from Smithery.
Luis, they can try your MCP, right, directly, and then see if that is if there is not an
Yes.
issue with their MCP kind of
You
thing.
can use that URL I put in the link to see if you're still getting the same issue, to see if it's Smithery issue, it's Ziplo issue.
Yeah.
Luis, what's the difference that between the tools? I mean, basically we used different tools last week to host the MCP for the weather, right? Like Speakeasy and Gram.
Yes.
So basically we are doing same thing, but in a different architecture or something. What's the difference?
So Speakeasy and Gran are really great for public MCP servers that you don't care about sharing information. Example, the weather network, right? Like, it's really great for if you don't care about people like stealing anything about what you research for weather. You can look and host it on something for free. And host your MCP server for free, and then register it. And then anyone of your friends, you can use like, hey, I created this cool MCP server. You can use it here, and you're not worried about any information. But if you want to do something more secure and you want to do something more, like example, if this is going to be more of a corporate deployment, and this is something that again you're using more information, then you need something a little bit more robust that has more authentication and more security and has the analytics to see what's happening with your MCP server. That's why Ziplo is good to host your model MCP server to host it, because you can see and register it and authenticate it and go from there. So this is where
why don't we just what if we just skip the last week's thing and then just go with this? Is the cost a concern, or what is the concern? Like, I mean,
so if you skip last week's, it's showing how to host a simple one on public. But if you want to do now more production and you want to more security, you can host on here. And the reason why the free trial, the free user lets you host and create sort of one, or I think maybe up to 5 MCP servers for free. But once you start getting to 10, 15, 20, 25, that's when they start charging, I believe, on these websites. So for now, you can try, you can host and create different ones that you want. And again, people have created, just like the other site on Smithery, so make sure I can close this, different MCP servers that you can use as well that are sort of more public facing as well. So again, there's not always one website to look for how to download different types of MCPs. People have made public ones as well on this site that you simply just grab it and you can be able to start using them.
Okay.
But Luis, we can just use it from here, right? From Smithery. So when you say it is publicly hosted, that means it is hosted here and you can use the tools only from here.
Yes.
And that is why, like last time, if we want to use it within your IDEs, then the only way to do it is host the MCP server on your local and expose those tools.
So what we did last week was we hosted online using Speakeasy and Gran, and then what we did, we just created a connection to tell, hey, Claude, this is where you can look up this tool using this API. So then in our desktop config, we simply just put the URL that we got from Speakeasy in there, and then we just asked it to query it. So the same thing here. Once we sort of have our location where we already have our own published servers, you can add the servers that you sort of created. Let me see here. And you can see my 2 servers that I have. I think this one's like last here. You can configure this. You can configure your server still having issues. Check if it's been configured properly. You can revoke access to certain servers. But again, the whole point of this is to really test out your MCP servers. If you don't have a cloud subscription for free, you don't have another LLM, this really gives you that playground capability to try out different MCPs, get it in there and test and test how certain tools will work in an LLM environment.
And Luis, now we tried with the cloud last week, and if we have to ChatGPT is to use our service? What do we need to do?
ChatGPT, I haven't played around with it much because again, Claude owns MCP because it's their tool, it's their baby.
I see.
I think ChatGPT, there is a way to do internal connectors. Again, I just saw this last week. Let me just double check if it has. Let me just check. I think I saw it only on, yeah, the connectors is only on the web. So if you have the app of OpenAPI, OpenAI, they don't have it there. You have to use the web version of it, and then there's something called add internal connectors. But again, they're slow. OpenAI is trying to catch up to connect, but Cloud still owns it because it's that's what they created themselves. Okay, so Chico, you're getting the same error. Maybe we'll just take 2 minutes right now, just if you can share your screen as we're almost done. I'll finish up here of what we're looking at, and then we'll probably take 2 minute break. And during that 2 minute break, maybe you want to share your screen quickly to see what error and why you're getting that error, and then we can and then we can continue with the next part of the class.
Sure. Yeah, I requested the share screen now. Yeah.
Okay, so hopefully we're able to do that. So again, we're not going to configure on Claude because just due to time. But now that you have this on a playground, like I said before, here add servers. If you want to test out different MCP servers without configuring on your desktop, without figuring out what's going on, like, hey, I want to use a genome MCP, or I want to use sequential thinking MCP, I want to do a PDF to Markdown convert MCP. Try them out, look for different ones you want. You can do even if there's even some for Jira connectors. Here's where you can test out a bunch of them. And this is definitely the pros versus the cons of using something like this versus Cloud Code or using the Ziplo. Ziplo does not give you a playground to test your MCP servers. Ziplo does not give you a way to publish it. Ziplo does not give you an LLM to see how well things are going. This is why you need to go and if you want to publish it, Smithery gives you that option of publishing it and testing it out for you, and you can add different servers as well as you go on. So that's sort of the pros and cons of these things. These things will change, evolve. What I'm teaching right now, I'm sure in 3 months, MCP servers will be changing the ways how they react and how they serve. Maybe Ziplo decides to do publishing in playgrounds, but right now, they're still stuck in that one area.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So I will do a 5 minute break right now, and we'll have you share your screen, and then I'll see if I can walk you through. So we'll start class again at 12:05. Well, it's 12:05 and 9:05 for you guys, and we'll try to walk through this. We'll try to see what's going on with your Smithery. So I'll stop sharing and see if you can have access. Is it still saying you request access to share screen?
No, I'm sharing. Can you see my screen?
Not yet.
Really?
I can see her.
No, you can see it. Is it just me?
Yeah, you can see. Yeah.
I just see names.
On the top, you can see Shashi Hajuri's screen. You can see her screen.
I don't know why I can't see it. Oh, I see it now. It's on a separate tab. Okay.
Can you see my Smithery?
Yes.
Okay. And this is my Ziplo spotter. Copy. Yeah.
Okay, so can you go to your Ziplo portal? Your side. Okay, let me click on code. Okay, and click on whether OpenICE. So just click on the second one for me for a second. And then, okay, so I see all of them are there. So that's good. And then click on routes.ois.json. Okay, so this is where, yeah, this is why it's not working. So on your path, that needs to say weather dash openas.json. This part there.
Oh, interesting.
Weather dash open API.
How
Yeah.
come he deployed in here? Interesting.
So then click save. So the weather.openai.os is pulling in all our tools, but what's actually going to route to our tools is this routing.os.json. So let's go back to the route designer now to see if we make sure it's properly configured, and then click select tools, and then click on active alert area.
But here it says still the routes. Is that correct?
Let me just double check. No, it should show the weather-openai.os.
Right.
So I see the routes os.json selected there. Is that is she supposed to click on? Yeah.
No.
No.
So let me just double check. Okay, so on the routes.os.json, click add. So click on the top add and then click MCP server. And then on that new one on the bottom, I think MCF-TF2, select tools, it's still showing the routes, right?
Yep.
Okay, so what we're going to do is copy everything again. Press cancel.
Yeah.
And then click on the routes.aos.json file. The middle one. Yep. And then that's what. So we're going to copy everything from the chat. So in the chat itself, I put in everything you're going to be copying over.
And paste here?
Yeah, and delete everything that's there, and you're going to be overwriting everything. Okay. And then click save. Okay, and then go to Routes Designer. Okay, and click Select Tools.
Oh, still it's here. Interesting.
Okay, just try this one, update tools, and see what happens. Let me just double check my routes with the weather dash open. No, so it's gonna fail because it should connect to your weather dash open API.json.
Oh, it's updated by itself. That's what I was thinking.
Okay, so let's update that one. let's update that one line. Oh, API with a P.
Oops.
And click save. Okay, let's go back to Route Designer. Click Select Tools.
Come on.
Okay, let's go back to the routes.aos JSON. Let's see if it add the routes.os.json. Let's see if it added it changed it. No, so it's good. Okay, what you can do too is you also can make a new routes.os JSON. So what we're gonna do is click the plus button on the left side where it says config.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And then call it routes. Yeah, open API spec, routes, and just call it 2 for now. Put a 2 beside it. Press enter. Click on that, and then click on the middle one. So no, we're just gonna choose the code again. So don't import anything from here. Just cancel X, and then you click on the middle JSON file here, and then you're gonna paste in here that, and then click save.
Oh, it's failed. Cannot have duplicate routes declared.
Yeah, because it's seeing the other one in that file.
Yeah.
Hold on.
Can that be deleted and recreated maybe?
Yeah, maybe we delete it. And that one we have to start a fresh project because it's messing up the.
Yeah.
And then rename that, and then change it to just remove the two.
Oh, it's not
You
doing
have
it.
to you have to press enter when you. No, it's
Yeah.
yeah, click on it. So let's take a couple more minutes to finish that. Routes. Okay, so route designer. Select tools.
It's still, I don't know why it is happening to me.
Okay, so we have to. I would suggest start a fresh project and do
Yeah.
step by step.
Uh-huh.
Like we did before, because again, we need to have that say when you click select tools, you need to show the weather dash open API JSON because we're not importing it from the routes. So this could happen if you accidentally uploaded the JSON file to the routes API, the routes spec, and
Yeah.
you're having that. So if that happened accidentally, then it sort of messes up the project and it always thinks it needs to go to the routes. So what I say, just go and delete this one, start a fresh project, do the steps again, and then
Yeah.
maybe at the end of class, let me know, and then we can see where we can go from there.
Sure.
Quick question. So in Ziplo, we just uploaded the JSON, right? And then are we creating a dummy routes over here? Because there is nothing out there. Just all we have is just what exactly is happening? We are not deploying a server there, are we? Or if we are, then it's just the JSON is what we put in, but there is no server or something which is running over there, a code which is running. The weather service was somewhere else, right? We copied from there and then actually we downloaded it and then did something. Can you explain a little bit more? So maybe it's I'm confused.
Yeah, so before with Zoplo, you didn't need to create the second file. You would simply just go to routes.os.json, upload your file, and that's it. But then they switched the documentation just last month, and I was getting errors. I was like, why am I getting errors? It's saying that right now your routes is sort of your admin, like your orchestrator. And you could have different types of JSON files connecting different APIs below. So then when you open up routes.ai JSON, you can then point out which configurations we want to add in here. You can add different paths, right? Because we're just doing one, so you can add in a second one, you can add in a third one, you can add in a fourth one.
Okay.
And then you click on routes OS JSON, you can choose which tools you want to use for that MCP server based off that.
Okay, but my question is, when you say MCP server, we are adding an MCP server over here, right? But there is no real server which is happening. All we did was we just uploaded this weather open API.os.json, right? Like, and then imported it, right? So basically, what it's doing is it's taking in the routes and what different paths and the API spec for it. But there is nothing running to serve these requests. Where is it actually serving, or is it even serving?
And so it has to serve it, right? So it's being deployed through an API to your hosting site. So everything that you're doing right now gets created and hosted to that custom URL API that you're creating. So whatever API that's sort of been done, like from the weather network, we're not using that API anymore. Everything is going to be used through this one because you're creating a tool set that says, hey, if I want to connect to the weather network API, I need to connect to this one first because this one will tell my LLM to choose which tools to use. Because if you put your LLM directly to an API and say, get me this information, they won't know what to do. They'll just unless you sort of help it, prompt it to tell which example it is, or you put hard-coded functions, they won't know what to do. This is why you need to have that middle section, that server that says connect to this API. And then when you run to it, you're able to send requests to understand what tools you can use in order to access the API in order to pull information from. So what you're doing on this hosted API is giving an LLM a tool for it to understand how to access and query the data that you have.
Oh, I see. Okay, so basically it will here it's all about exposing what are the endpoints which are available, and the actual serving of those requests when you hit here will go to somewhere else, right? Is that correct?
Correct.
And that
It's basically the adapter pattern, right? It's basically like MCP tools, MCP server is basically adopting the OpenAPI spec into something that an LLM can understand, right? That's pretty much it.
yeah, just confirming if that's the case.
Sure. Yeah.
And it does get served and gets deployed through their Docker station that they have in order for you to get your own private URL to start hosting it and testing it.
Got it. Okay.
All right, cool. So let's get to the next part. Make sure we have enough time for that. So let's say you have an MCP server, but you don't want to go through the internet. You don't want to have all this type of issues. You just want to build something out yourself, and have it run locally. How can we do that? So I sent over last night a little bit more of how we can sort of load our own MCP servers, and how we can get that up and running. So I think on Visual Studio Code, let me just make sure we have the right one.
It would be also interesting to see where does the, is there a server information to which it actually has to hit from Ziplo is in that JSON file.
Yeah, so you can go through the JSON file and see the different serving endpoints. I'm not sure if you're used to seeing some documentations, but example, when I was put on a big SAP project, they gave me a notebook of all the different ways you can pull information from SAP to get these reports, to get these names, to get these files, to get these reports. And it was extremely overwhelming because then you have to figure out, okay, if I want to get this data, I have to use this API like V4, and then if I want to use this one, I have to use V2 invocations. I have to do this. So there's a lot of different API tools I can have. But if there was an open API spec that I was able to consume and then say, hey, if I want to get alerts, I click the ones that I want and tell the LLM, hey, this is how I want to get information from my SAP system. I already give you the tools that you should use and get me the information. And again, your LLM is only as good as your prompting. So in your system prompts, you're not properly defining the tools sets that it has, it won't know to have them as well, right? So you can tell it, I want you to first use your MCP server, retrieve the information of tools, select one that's most appropriate, and then give back to the user. So you have to sort of, and always again, part of your prompt engineering techniques is only as good as your MCP server as well. So you need to have good context. You need to be able to prompt it properly. Not only just it's only good enough to have an MCP server up, but you need to tell an LLM what to do. And one of the mistakes that I've seen, currently I'm on a project where individuals are trying to use MCP servers, is that they try to overload the LLM with extra fluff that it doesn't need, and it can confuse. Example, one project I seen was they wanted to pull information from an MCP server. So they said, once you have information from an MCP server, I want you to escalate it. And then once that gets escalated, you need to go through approvals. But the LLM's job is only to pull information from the MCP server. Then it will go through a flow that's already pre-built that the LLM doesn't use or LLM doesn't have. But because you're telling it that it needs to get escalated, it needs to move to this flow, and you're trying to explain to what's happening, because it doesn't have access to the escalation, it doesn't have access to different things, it's gonna fail because it's gonna think, oh, I have to create the escalation ticket myself. Oh, I have to do this. So adding extra information to an LLM can actually hurt it if it doesn't have any explicit actions to do as well. So that's the only thing I want to keep you in mind as you build out these MCP servers. Do not give it extra information that it doesn't need or not required for its role to do. LLMs will get confused and think they own the whole project leadership, and they don't. You just want it to be done for a specific task. So that's the only thing I just want you to remember as you build out these MCP servers, and you're using it that way.
So if you have your own service, basically you need to expose through Swagger OpenAPI, right? And then once you have that OpenAPI spec, that you would be using in the JSON file, which would be hosted in something called something like Ziplo, right? And then go from there. Is that
Yes.
is the right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's one approach. So I'm going to walk you through another approach right now as well. But that's one of them if you're going to go through something that's more productionized.
So,
okay. So the one I'm going to show you guys
Luis,
today is, question?
Luis, one question.
Yep.
Is that it only OpenAPI spec is basically for REST endpoints, right? So does it also do for WSDL like SOAP API or Graph API?
So those will be
Supported for REST.
different. Yeah, they're going to be different to consume, especially on Ziplo and things like that. They will only work well with OpenAPI specs because it's meant for MCP servers. It would have to be a conversion or something for it to be used or in a separate way if you only have those type of APIs specs available.
Yeah, if you have the SOAP APIs, right? Like there are ways to expose the SOAP APIs as the REST APIs, and the REST APIs could be an open API.
Yeah, but there's a double layer, right? I'm just saying if
It's a double layer,
the
yeah.
MCP can directly be accessed OpenAPI, no, instead of REST endpoints, can it access SOAP and GraphQL? There are other things, right?
It's just an adoption, right? Like there's not much happening there. If your company has decided to go with the SOAP APIs, they're not going to publish two different API layers, correct? Adoption is a must. It can't be avoided, actually.
Yeah.
Question is basically you can have SOAP is probably it's probably not a best example, but if you're talking about
Graph
GraphQL
is the latest technology, but can we expose an MCP server on Graph?
So remember, so open here, right? If I'm on Ziplo, and fortunately, it's only giving me the option of OpenAPI spec for this one, right? So it's not giving me the option to use different types of specs right now. All those different ones areas, they're not meant to be consumed that way. So that's the only limitations that I'm seeing in the technology itself right now. There are limitations of it. It's not properly matured. Right now, they're only focusing OpenAI spec, but I'm sure in the future they need to find a way to be able to access without duplicating efforts and creating hopping effects, trying to connect to MCP servers that way.
Got it. Thank you.
Okay, so if you want to run something local and you want to use your cloud code, and there's something I thought about last night that I'm like, hey, this would be a cool thing to show you guys, is what would happen if we have our Google Studio, right? We have our Google Studio API key and we downloaded Claude for free. What if we were able to get Claude to talk to Gemini during your meetings to understand a little bit more? And so how can you have two LLMs have conversations with each other and understand what each other thinks? You can do this using MCPs, and you don't need to publish it on a website. You don't need to register it. You don't need to do anything. Again, this is going to be done local. So again, if you open the instructions I sent through WhatsApp, I think last night, we can go through a quick demo of how you can sort of run this yourself and be able to have something deployed locally. So then you can see how that works. So make sure, so again, if you don't have this up and ready right now, don't worry about it. I just have to go through. I don't think I can wait 5-10 minutes for individuals to start getting ready because due to time, we're almost a half hour, and I think that half hour will show us going through the different steps and things like that as well. But again, you simply start fresh on a fresh environment, start under fresh VS Code, and simply I git cloned everything to the server. So you should have just git clone and collect the server, like I said in the instructions of what the first thing to do on that step was. So let me just pull that up on, I think I have it in my Word doc here. So the first step on the instructions, I told you to git clone that server, and that's where we are right now. And then we change our directory on the bottom here to ensure that we're in the right directory. So let me just do, we're in Gemini. So it's change directory, Gemini. MCP. Okay, now we're inside our directory. So when you did a git clone, it's going to download all these different packages that we have, or the README, some screenshots. I was testing it last night to make sure everything was good. But the most important part is this index that I created that you guys can use and how we sort of configure what we're doing. So this is built in TypeScript, where we're just using Gemini Pro as our server. They're going to be using the version that we have. We're creating capabilities and tools for our server. This is our initiation. And we're going to do two things that we're going to have set up as tools. So the first tool we're going to add in our Gemini is that we know we can generate text with Gemini. So in order to do that, we need to tell it the chat prompt of how to do it. The technique comes to a string, and this is how you send a text prompt to Gemini. We give it a number of maximum tokens. We want to keep it small to like 1,000 tokens only. And we could change the temperature from 0 to 2. So we're just keeping it in the middle for 1 for that way. So this is our setup for our tools to generate text for Gemini, because we want to ask a question from one LLM to another. Now, if we want to analyze an image, Gemini, we know, is multimodal. So we can tell it, analyze this vision using Gemini 2.5, right? So it's going to analyze an image, text prompt describe what the image is, and get the information back. So we're just going to give two tools to our Gemini Pro server that we know that's in Google Studio, how to handle it, how to make sure it's async, and that's it. And an execution function. And we just built it out using TypeScript. So again, we're just making a tool set. We're having this template. We're having this framework. We're pulling information from the Google Generative AI packages, and we're telling it to say, hey, we're going to make two tools and make that server up. Next step is after you change your directory, we install our dependencies that we need for this to work. So you have to make sure that you're in your Gemini MCP server, and you just do npm install. So now it's going to install the dependencies we need for this to work.
Do you suggest this to be done offline? Because like I don't remember doing any of this clone and all those things. So when you're saying it's the instruction for our homework, or
yeah, so if you saw yesterday in the WhatsApp message, I gave it sort of instructions that we're going to be following today, how to run locally. So this is how to run how to create your own MCP server locally without publishing and things like that for yourself. Something you don't want to share with anyone else, you can do it locally. Of course, it still needs to connect to the internet, right? Because it's still API calls. But I'm showing you guys how to create your own MCP server locally, so you can have it connect to your Cloud Code.
Okay, sorry, I missed that message. So.
No worries, no worries.
Luis, we don't need the Gemini key yet, right?
So you need to, yeah. So in here, we have to. This is where we're gonna get through step by step.
Okay, okay.
Right now, we're not putting the Gemini key in yet.
Okay.
We're making sure we're able to get to the right folder, and we're able to install our dependencies using npm install.
Okay.
We're just following slowly the steps, so you guys can see how to make sure that you're in your proper area. Next, get your Google API key, right, and copy the key in. So for that to work, you need to create a .env file. It's a new file, .env. And here we're going to put in our API keys based off what we have. I think it's this one. So we're going to go in here, put Gemini API key. Here I'll have to pause it so it doesn't look like I'm using a real one. So just pause for a sec. Okay, so in your .env file should show, like we said before, your API key that you have from Google Studio or Google Colab. You can, if you don't have Google Studio up and running, you can quickly go to your Google Colab, open up and copy the Google API key that we created previously. Okay, and then we need to build a project. So I'll quickly update what we've gone so far. We've cloned it to our local. We then npm installed the dependencies that we need. We created .env
Do
file.
you mind sharing the document in the chat?
Yes.
Is the Gemini API key and the Colab API key same, Luis?
Yes, because you copied your Gemini API key into your Google Colab, so it should be the same.
Okay.
What is the ID you're using? Just curious.
Code, VS Code.
Okay.
This one is VS Code, yeah.
I started using the cursor more.
Yeah, I have Cursor as well, but I just thought something simple would be in VS Code. Okay, so again, we git cloned it in. We changed to the directory that we're in. We clicked npm install. We created our .env that has our Google Gemini API key that we have. So next step is once we have installed, then we need to do something called, we need to build it out so that it can be used. So you can click npm build. And you can see this is directly from the instructions that I'm putting in here as well. npm run build. So I'm just copy npm run build. So now it's going to build our project out in order to deploy it locally. So npm run build is, okay, I installed everything that we need to run our packages. Now the run build is going to use what we sort of created and be able to deploy it from there. Next step after this is that we need to make the file executable. So this is the file that we're going to be using in order for our index to be reused from an LLM. So we simply just click that and run it. And that's good. And that's basically it. We're sort of done our MCP local setup. We grabbed the files that were sort of created. We installed dependencies. We built it. And to make sure that the Google Gemini API key is good. And it's going in from there. Last thing we need to do now is to test the server. So we're just going to grab this argument I put here, number 6. And we're going to test if we're able to get a response. Okay, great. So we see here we have our tools, the text prompt is sent to Gemini, what's configured, what data is in here, and we're using the JSON RPC method 2.0 that we talked about before, how MCP people talk to each other. Great. So that means we created a local MCP server that's not connected to the internet, that's not connected to outside of that, and we're able then to use it locally. So now that we have this MCP server, how do we use this locally? How do we get this up and running? So just similar like we did last week, where we have Claude, we go to our developer section, and then we can edit our configs. Let me just close this out, because sometimes if Claude has too much information coming, and we go to the left side, our flow plan, and then we go to our settings, our developer settings, we have our Gemini API key. So in order for this to happen, you have to click edit config. I can't open it right now simply because if I open it, it will show my API key because you have to insert the API key. So what you do is, here's the example configuration. Remember this last week, how you double click the desktop configuration file? You copy this section in there. And the only difference that you'll be doing is the value that you're putting into there won't be your name this time, just like we did last week. The value is you have to put your actual API key in here. So we're doing is we're telling Gemini Pro to, hey, use this MCP server. We're going to use Gemini Pro. Here's a command. Here's how to access the MCP server. And here's the environment variable you need to understand to use. So then you can go in and add in your API key and then click save. Now, if you want to add multiple APIs, for example, we had Gram Weather and Gemini. This is sort of how you sort of have to put them together. You would grab your first one and close it off with parentheses, and then add a second one with a comma, and then start your second server that way. So I put this format for you guys for you can play around with if you want to add more than one API to your desktop config. If you want to add 5 MCP servers at the same time, simply just follow this format and copy that into your desktop config in Claude. So if you remember how to get there, if you click edit config, it's going to open up my files. It's going to open this config.json. I'll double click on it and it'll open up where I can insert and put in my code. So again, if you just want to add one and not worry about anything else, just copy this in, put your name in there, copy the API key in, and then click save, and then restart your Claude. If you did it correctly, you should see on your tool settings a new MCP problem under here called Gemini Pro. If we set up our tool correctly, you can see that there's 2 tools now that we've developed: generate text and analyze image. So let's see if we set it up properly. We built it out right now. I deleted everything beforehand, so make sure it was fresh and clean to show you I'm doing the same thing that you'd be walking through. And now let's see how this can actually work. So let's ask Claude to communicate with Gemini and say, what does Gemini Pro think about the latest iPhone 17 Pro Max? Let's see what it says and see if we can get it connecting to our tools API and not hit an error. So remember how we said, how do we know it's not connecting to the internet and how it's not connecting to this part? Is that it actually sends a request to our tool, showing what kind of question it's going to prompt it to, having access to our tools, and be able to see if we can get an answer. So we're going to click allow once for it to go ahead and allow that tool to be used on our functions. So finger crossed. Let's hopefully the demo gods will work for us today, and we'll continue.
So
Any questions?
since we gave Gemini my own Gemini API key, the Claude does not have access to my data, right? Only the LLM part of Gemini is accessible by Claude. Is that?
Yeah, so it won't access your data from your information. All it does is it will connect to the Gemini API key. Like you're telling it to pretty much connect and talk to Gemini API, and that's it. That's all you're doing.
Okay, so we are asking it to use Gemini, but for the billing purpose, we are using API key. I mean, for the which Gemini to use, but it won't have access to my particular Google account and all. Because if I go to my Gemini app, it has all the access to my Google data, right?
No, so you should be, for example, the API key that you're using should be the one from Google Studio, right?
Correct.
In Google Studio, you should be able to have that latest information in there. So that Google Studio is not connected to your Gmail. It's not connected to your Google Drive. It's not connected to anything, any information. That Google Studio is only connected to the Gemini Pro APIs, and that's it.
Got it.
Yeah.
Hey, Luis, sorry. Can you just show in like what is the how did you check in like if Claude is using both your MCPs?
So remember, so on here, you should be able to see that it creates a request to the user.
Okay.
So if you don't have it creating a request, that means the tool isn't being used. Last time someone asked how you can tell the difference is that you'll see here, you'll see a request coming in, you'll see something that says searching internet instead, right? So it will search internet, and versus using your tools, it will then send you like, hey, can I send this tool to your iPhone or whatever, and then that's how it would work. Okay, so this one's showing me that it's not working. So I have to do a little bit debugging. So let me just have to pause my screen on my .env file, make sure I have the proper API key. I think sometimes yesterday I was having a little issue with my API key. Make sure it was going good. Okay, and just double check my desktop config.
Okay. Full path to index.js. List. Sorry, Luis, did you tell I forgot like if I missed it actually the full path to Google MCP server? Did you expect? I mean, did you say that actually? We should probably change it, right?
Which part? Which part?
The MCP server has that, like the complete, like Gemini Pro, Gemini Pro server, like it has a full slash path to this one that needs to be replaced.
Yes, that needs to be
Yeah,
so
your location.
Yeah, so yeah, it needs to be a location of where where your file is. So if you
Right.
if you click on the index.js and you click copy full path,
Yeah.
copy path, you have to paste that in there.
Right. I missed that part.
Sorry, I may have skipped that one section. Okay, let's see.
Hey, Luis. When we go to API Studio, right, you need to create a project for the API key, right? You cannot just create a key without the project, right?
No, you should be able to. You should be able to make it directly. So let me just double check.
Yeah, I used it from
I got it now.
101. We created API key, so I used that.
Let me see Google Studio.
So when I say get API key, it's asking me to create API key. It's asking me name and then choose any imported project.
So then you go to this page right here, right? It says get API key and create API key. So
yeah, but you need to pick one project. That's what I meant.
Yeah, so if you have your name assigned or your email assigned to a Google account previously, you will get this error. This is why I had to use a separate email that's not connected to any Google projects I've worked in the past, and then you're able to create a free API key. So you might have to just create a new email or use a separate email and sign in with that to Google AI Studio because sometimes it won't work. So let's see, I have to use another one. So let's see if I use my account. Sign in. Okay, so I don't know if they changed it, but you're able to get API key, create API key. BSF Club. Okay, you see something when you create a new project, you see something called free tier.
Yeah.
And then you click get API key, create it. And then you use one here and you can say
that's what I'm saying. If you have a project, it is allowing to create a key.
Yeah. And the most important part is you use the free tier one.
I think we can create directly from the collab, right? Why use the AI Studio?
Yeah. So Google AI Studio is pretty much the main basic points where you can do real LLM testing.
Sure.
Google Colab did not have that in the past.
Right.
So I'm just used to using Google AI Studio to create those API keys.
Mhm. I
So
just
once,
came from the past, actually.
yeah, if you have them in the past,
Yeah.
that's all you need to do.
Right.
So I just asked, say hello to Gemini Pro. I'd be happy to say hello to Gemini Pro for you. Let me use the Gemini tool to send greeting. So it says, hello, Gemini Pro. This is Claude saying, hi, how are you doing? And it's saying, hello, Claude. I'm great to hear you. As a language model, I don't do things or have feelings like humans do, but I'm online ready to assist. How can I help you today? So it's in Gemini respond with a friendly greeting. It says hello back and mentions it's ready to help. Is there anything you want me to work at Gemini Pro to work on together? Maybe ask Gemini Pro what it does better than Claude, and mentioned your Claude. So here I'm asking a question. Hey, Gemini Pro, this is Claude. Asking a question. I'm curious, what do you think you're better? What do you better than me? So again, I'm having this MCP server hosted, in which it's going in, using it to ask Gemini Pro a question. Gemini Pro is then being used sort of an MCP server as saying, hey, I can use a text generation, or I can use image generation and get the information on is. So because we're using the free API, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work. But usually in production, if you want something that's a little bit more reliable, you would have to put a separate API key in there that's actually from that. Let's see if this one works again. And go from there. But this is basically what I want to show you, that you could create your own MCP servers locally. You just your mind is your limitation. You can figure out, hey, I want to use this, or I want to do this, or is there any way I can connect with this? This is where you would want to do this as well, right? So let's see if that's a new chat. Let's see, we'll open a new chat. Sometimes MCP server sometimes works that way.
It's taking quite a long, actually.
Yeah, it's the API. My API is sort of maxed out. I was using it a lot yesterday, but
Even for me, actually, like as in, I haven't used it at all. Right? Surprising. That's fine.
say hello to Gemini Pro. Let's see if it's something even short messages.
Looks like it has to really think hard to say hello.
So yeah, so right now, this is since something I made this MCP last night. It worked obviously yesterday, and today my API limits or things are not being able to pull in methodly. I just want to double check again if it's able to access the tools. Yeah, it's saying it's still able to access. So, but yeah, this is where the demo gods sometimes fall down on you or sometimes not. But this is how you would basically connect an MCP server to Claude. And say, hey, this is my Gemini IP key. I want you to communicate this. So when does this become reliable? When does this become helpful? I'm not sure if you guys use Claude Code to help you coding, things like that. And sometimes when you have to code or you need to do things that with one LLM, you have only a certain amount of text or context you can use without running into running into a limit saying, hey, you use this much tokens during the 3 hours and before you need to stop. So what if you're able to offload large chunks of text to an LLM, just like Gemini Pro has a 1 million context window, to sort of grab information and summarize it and then pass it back to Claude to analyze. So that way you can say when you're doing your coding or anything like that, you can use a Gemini MCP server in which you have Claude able to read and to distinguish everything that's going on. Then you use this MCP server to then have it to summarize large information and give it to Claude Code so it doesn't have to go read and use all your context window. So again, the whole point of this is to have something that you can able to communicate, and it doesn't have to be Google Sheets API. It can be another LLM. It could be 3 LLMs. It could be 2 LLMs you can have connections to. And if you don't want to build out your own MCP server, that's fine. We went and we showed you there's different ways to actually connect to MCP servers. So if we go back to Smithery, and I go to the top, maybe there's a Gemini MCP here. Gemini MCP. Yeah, so 500 people have used this. You don't have to use what I've done before. You just simply click on adding in this URL and configure it. You can actually look for Claude Desktop type, put in your API key, and then click connect. And you can save, save a file for you, which you just put inside your desktop configuration. And you're good to go, and which will have Gemini generate content, Gemini chat, Gemini route messages, Gemini cache, etc. So again, the whole point of the second season is your mind's a limit. Think of things that you want to do, things that you want to connect to. 2025 is the year of agent. So when you say people are like, oh, what is agentic? What is agentic work? This is the agentic work. It's telling an LLM to look at tools, choose which tools are the best for that project, and come back and solve it using those tools. And it's not only that you're pulling information in. Let's see, Wolfram. Let's see, there's a Wolfram MCP. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with Wolfram, but it's like a mathematical calculator that can go and query and do mathematical functions, understand chemistries, understand this. So let's say you have an LLM model that's purely about mathematics, and you don't want the LLM to use it because LLMs are not mathematical models. They're not calculators. They're more about predicting the next token of what seems to be best. So if that's true, then you need to create a Wolfram API key, which will then look at and create mathematical calculations. And let's say if that's not enough for you, like, hey, I have one MCP that does calculations, but what I need something to do coding. So then you can have another, let's see, code execution. Yeah. You can have another thing that goes in and then says, hey, I want you to create this, create me a code for this function to work. But you want it to validate itself before giving it the answer to you. So then what you can do is connect it to, for example, this code execution server, in which sends out the code that the LLM develops to this MCP server, validates that it's failed or passes or failed. The LLM will then see it's failing, iterate until it finally gives you a working code, right? So it's saving you time and trouble of copying and pasting whatever code it's giving you, and then going in and sorting it. So again, you can have something that's a code validator as well. So again, if you could think, if you thought it before and there's not there, you can create it. So again, these MCP servers have been about over a year. People have been trying to contribute. So again, if you need something that you feel like you can't build yourself out, you need something to use. A lot of people use MCP servers. An example, I use this to build up front ends is the Playwright browser automation. So let's say I'm building a front end and I want to make it look really nice. So I'm here editing the code and I want to see if it actually works real light. So I'm using LLM saying, hey, verify that my front end is still working. So then it will use this Playwright MCP server to host a local file, to open up a local file browser, takes a screenshot, then sends the screenshot back to my LLM, and then says if he shows an error message, it's actually going through the right areas, it's actually navigating to the right section, blah, 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 blah. So these are really good MCP servers to help you when you're designing and building out your functions to have as a back pocket to help you work faster and work better. Because LLMs are good, but once you give them tools, that's really where they become really more smart, more successful, and actually really help you. And that's really the whole part of having building AI agents. It's no longer just, hey, can LLM respond to my question? No, I want LLM to go and send me an email at 10 a.m. that I need to do this, or I need to go and send me a text message to do this. You can create MCP servers for sending text messages. You can create MCP servers to make phone calls. You can create MCP servers to validate all the information. So wherever you feel like you can have deeper impact and where you feel like you can have a lot of information, like this is where you need to go and create it yourself. So again, that was sort of the lesson today. I just wanted to walk through 2 examples and really drill down that MCP servers are really great tools to use and to use securely. So you can create public ones, you can create private ones, and you can create local ones. And each one will be helping you to support your services and go from there.
So typically what you would write is the client code. Of course, you can do your MCP too, but what I'm asking is like if you want to integrate with MCP along with LLM, you would probably have your own service, and that service would somehow need to orchestrate to talk to the MCP server and then to the LLM, right? And then there is, I think you mentioned that there is also a LLM client side of it, which would can be used for integrating with the MCP as well as the LLM. Is that correct?
Yeah, so remember how Claude Code, in order for us to connect these MCPs, we will have to then connect and create in our desktop configurations, right? These local MCP servers that we're running. So this is our connectors. So the good thing about Claude Code, it's already built in. It's already built in its framework to check for tools before responding. But if you were to start a blank spreadsheet, let's say in Google Colab, and you want to make it run MCP server, you'll have to create a framework that starts from prompt engineering to adding tools for it to be used as a tool and get a response back. You would have to create all that manually yourself, that functioning flow. And you can use frameworks that are open source, like LangGraph, that can help you make that go faster, but you would have to create that custom work yourself if you're doing it basically on a blank spreadsheet and desktop. You're not using something else like that.
You're talking about the MCP, developing the MCP by itself, or
No, I mean to access it. So,
Okay.
example, if you were to start fresh from a Google Colab notebook and you want LLM to communicate with your MCP server and you have no framework, you're not using Claude Desktop, you're not using OpenAI Desktop, you're not using any external services, and you just want to build your own, you would have to create a framework in which an LLM communicates with your MCP server. So you need to tell it through prompt engineering and create different workflows for it to know which way to go. So that's really the pros and cons of it, is that if you're not using a framework, it's because with a framework, it seems really easy, right? We add up desktop, we go to here, we edit the configuration, add it in, and that's it. But we don't know, you don't see that in the back end that Claude is using LangGraph to control the different nodes it needs to check first. You don't see the prompt engineering that goes behind it. You don't see the retries, the fails, the fallbacks, all the productionized information that's happening through Claude Code. All you see is the front end capabilities. But when you're developing and building something yourself that's customized, you have to include all that framework in.
Got it.
Yeah. It's a little bit more complicated when you start building custom things, but it's definitely the way to go. But right now, a lot of providers are including this as piece of functionality. AWS just created Bedrock agents, in which connects directly to MCP servers using secure authentications. So all you have to do is just like here, you just add the configurations to your Bedrock accounts and then start the MCP servers from there. And the same thing with Azure and Semantic Kernel. They're all adding MCP support. Just like we talked about before, it's slowly getting back to it's getting to a more mature state. We'll go back here, but you have to remember that this came out only a year ago. This is the part where I was going to show. It's only came out a year ago. Only certain parts have hosting capabilities. Only certain areas have registries. I put a couple of names in there as well if you want to test out different ones. But again, it started out November 2024, and only April of this year, OpenAI and Google just announced capabilities and be able to even use them in their system, right? And it's only September. So again, this is something new. But if you go to a lot of AI conferences like me, you'll see that everyone's talking about MCP, agent, MCP, MCP, because right now, the main pros and cons of this is before, if you were to write a SQL query to get data, something like talk to your data BI, you would have to create SQL functions, you would have to create this, you have to do that, you would extract it, bring that information back in. Sometimes your LLM wouldn't be right. But now with an MCP server, you can say, here's all the ways to call all the data that you need already predefined. And you can give this to your LLM agent and have those call predefined SQL statements. The only thing they're changing is if you need certain dates, if you need it from certain individuals, and etc., getting that information back. So again, this is really the pros and cons of MCPs. And again, it's something new, but this is what everyone's really talking about, what's supporting that framework. And like I said before, there's many different ways. So if you want to help you develop things locally, you can deploy it locally. If you want to deploy something publicly, you can deploy it publicly, and how to deploy it privately as well. So those are the main three functions I wanted to go with you guys today about MCP servers. Next week, I really want to go down to how to evaluate. So there's lots of questions that we get. How do we evaluate these models, and how do we ensure that these are correct? So I'm building a custom program out that everyone could have to understand how to do real proper RAG evaluations on these models from here. So again, we are running out of time. We have time on Wednesdays again for our meeting. If you have any questions, please let us know, and I'll be there for Wednesday. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I hope you have a great Saturday.
Thanks, Louis.
Thank you, Louis.
Thank you, Louis. Louis, do you have 1 minute?
Yes.
The thing is, Smithery is listed as an MCP registry here. I thought we use a Smithery as a playground.
No, so remember, so Smithery is to publish and register the model, the hosting model that you created.
Okay.
So think about this. Zaplo is to host
MCP server.
MCP server. MCP registry is then to register it and to play around with it. So that's what currently, this is what's sort of best practice for now. And it may sound counterintuitive, but this is what everyone's doing right now in order to get MCPs working into something like that as well. So
this is how industry is using it right now.
yeah, so this is how everyone's using it now. They're hosting it, then they register it.
Okay. And as a part of the registry, you also have the playground to play with just for testing or whatever.
Exactly. So you don't have to go to your own cloud code and download the configuration. You have something that connects to it right away and then play around and see if it's working.
Interesting. You don't have the Ziplo listed there. Remote hosting providers.
Yeah, it's I just added Ziplo as the last bit, but you can use Cloudflare, you can use Zapier, you can use Atlassian. So I just want to give something. It doesn't have to be Ziplo,
right.
But it can be one of those in.
Okay, wonderful. Nice.
Okay, awesome.
Thanks, Louis.
We'll see you guys next week.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.
Yeah, Louis. Oops, asking the